What's happening, guys? So I want to talk mostly about deadlifts today, but first I'll do the quick update on the muscle memory series. So this is now week 5, and there was no increase in my arm size this week. It stayed at 15 and 7/8. And then for my legs, there was a small increase of another 1/8 inch, bringing it up to 13.5. So 5 weeks in now, I am a 1/2 inch away from reaching full leg size from before I was out, and then only a 1/4 of an inch away on my arm size. So that's where that's at. Now, like I said, the main thing I want to talk about is deadlifts, and there's a few things that I've done to change. The first thing is I switched to doing nothing but full resets. Now, I had been kind of toying around with this idea anyway, and now after doing Lane Norton's VIP camp a few weeks ago and listening to Matt Gary speak on it, it just was convincing enough that I said, you know what, let's make the switch, or at least give it a try for a while and just see how I like it. And the big thing that he talked about that made the most sense to me was the fact that, you know, the lift is 100% concentric, which obviously I knew this already, but one of the things that you don't really think about, not even with touch and go, but just with resets without letting go of the bar and doing what I usually do, what I would normally do before, if you don't know, if you don't remember, I would lift and then I would reset my hips and then I would go again. All right, so it was happening pretty fast. But there's some research that he provided that showed, you know, typically you have about 4 seconds to get a little bit of a stretch reflex out of it. Now with squat and bench, that's one thing because you're going to use some stretch reflex every single time. In competition for a deadlift, there's never going to be any stretch reflex. It's just going to be you walk up, you pull the weight, that's it. All right. So if you have any help whatsoever from a stretch reflex in the deadlift, it's just not very specific for a power lifter. So for me, it just made the most sense to go ahead, do a full reset, practice like I'm going to play. You know, just be really specific, just like I always talk about specificity being important, and just roll with it. So I'm going to do that. We'll see how it goes. I mean, it's definitely more challenging. It's definitely tiring, but I think it's going to be good. Now, the other thing I did is I changed back into my chucks this week. Now, it actually happened almost by accident because last week there was a day where I went to deadlift and my deadlift slippers were not in there. There was one, but the other one fell out of the bag at my apartment and it just wasn't there, so I didn't have it, but I did have my chucks with me, so I went ahead and threw those on and lifted those, and it just felt really good. I felt really stable and really strong, and I didn't know if it was just one of these things where I just had it that day or if maybe the chucks had something to do with it, but I just kind of wrote it off as just kind of a fluke type of a thing. And then I go to the gym last Friday and I'm lifting and I just felt horrible. I felt really unstable. I felt like I'll actually play the video and you'll see like my body is like rocking back and forth. I don't feel stable at all. And even on one rep at the end, I fell backwards and lost the weight. It just didn't feel good. So I thought, you know what, let's try the chucks again. Put them back on and it felt much cleaner. It felt much smoother. I felt much more under control. And I just figured, you know what, if it feels better, let's do it. I mean, there's no sense in forcing yourself to use slippers just because you bought them if they're not going to help you. So for now, anyways, I'm going back to the chucks. I feel better. I don't know if it's just because there's more surface area. I don't know if maybe it's extra ankle support or what it is, but I just feel much more under control with the chucks. With the slippers, I have a really hard time staying on the outside back of my heels and spreading the floor with them. So we're going to switch to chucks. I don't know. Other than that, deadlifts are feeling really good. I've got myself to the point now where I've got a pretty nice neutral back on pretty much every single lift. It's moving smoothly. I'm under control. So I'm happy. I'm encouraged, but at the same time I have to realize that I've been very encouraged before too, and the weight is still very light right now. I'm still making my way back up. So we'll see what happens when weight starts getting heavier and I start pushing myself a little bit more. But for now, that's how things are going. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have. So thank you guys for watching as always, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
I'm addicted to the love that you're giving.